Hi everybody, what's brewing? I'm Mike Biana and this is Coffee Talk. The city of Coral Gables is unique in many ways, but one of the most important is that the office of the city attorney is open to you, the public. Bet you didn't know that. Joining us at the coffee table today to prove his accessibility is the city attorney himself, Craig Leen. Mr. City Attorney, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, it's a true pleasure to be here.
I'm sure the public at home really wants to know what exactly is it that your office does in City Hall?
The city attorney's office is in the charter, and its duty is to provide legal representation to the city of Coral Gables, to the commissioners, to the city officials, and also to the public. We don't directly represent the public as like a client, but the public is what funds our office. The public is why this government is here.
Right.
So one of my solemn duties is to represent the public as a whole. And that means that unlike many places, a resident can come to the city attorney's office if they have an issue.
Right.
For example, on how the code is interpreted, on an issue they're having with the city, and my office will look into it. We do it on behalf of the city of Coral Gables, but we still do it and we try to help that person. And we have a very good record of doing so.
I love that because it really is a government for the people, by the people, that open door policy that you maintain.
Yes, one of the things I love most about the city of Coral Gables is that if you're a resident and you come to City Hall, you can meet with the mayor, you can meet with the commissioner, you can meet with the city manager, the city clerk, and the city attorney, all in one day. And there's no place like that.
One of the examples of that open door policy is the commission meetings that are typically held bi-weekly in City Hall. And so one of the ordinances that has recently come up is the one dealing with the squatters in the city. Can you open up that discussion just a little bit and explain to the people at home what it's about?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about that because I'm very proud of the squatters ordinance. And I think it's one of the best things that the commission has done since I've been here, because in many cities it used to be the rule, and in many cities it still is the rule. It used to be the rule here that if someone broke into a house and was living in the house as a squatter, okay, they're living there, they don't own the house, that it was viewed as a civil matter. And by that I mean the only way to have the person be removed was to actually have to go to court and get an eviction or what's called an ejectment, and that could take a long period of time. And so there'd be someone living literally right next to you.
Right.
They wouldn't be keeping up the house.
They don't belong there.
They don't belong there. They broke in. They're not keeping up the house because they have no need to, because they can't, if we cite them, they don't live there. They don't own the house.
And they have no means to do it as well,
exactly.
Usually. Yes.
And so what we did in Coral Gables was said, we're not going to tolerate that. You're not going to be able to do that in our city. So we passed a law which was one of the first, as far as I could tell, the first in the country.
Wow.
And the first in the state. And even if there are other ones, they're not being enforced like we're enforcing it. We created a whole process to address squatters. So for example now, if there's a squatter in a house and we learn about it, we go there immediately. As long as we have reason to believe they're a squatter, so they can't show us a written lease showing they're a renter.
Right.
Or we have what's called an abandoned property registry, where we list all the houses and what their status is, and if it's listed as vacant on that registry, and yet someone's living there, that's an indication that they're a squatter.
Right.
So if it meets some of these criteria, we can give them an order to leave the house within 5 days.
Okay.
And it can be even sooner if there's an emergency. And what I have found is that the ordinance has been the most effective law that I've ever seen, because we don't have squatters in Coral Gables today because of this ordinance.
So that's proof that it works.
It works because what happens is squatters are so used to hearing, oh, well, you're going to have to go to court or something like that, and the neighbors have nothing they can do. Like the neighbors literally can't do anything.
So it becomes a nuisance within a neighborhood.
It's a nuisance. There's nothing that can be done. In Coral Gables, we tell them, no, you have to leave within 5 days, or the police and code enforcement are going to come here and you'll be ordered out of the house. So if you as a resident know of a house like this, you should tell us. You should tell my office directly. And we will put it on the list based on your complaint. We will put it on the list and we will enforce the law as to this house and make sure it gets fixed up.
Now, something else that you wanted to talk about was a different system, a different program for protecting victims.
Yes, we have 2 programs that we are working on that are really great, state of the art in some sense for Coral Gables. One is called the Justice Advocate Program.
Right.
And this came up at the commission, and the commission really wanted this program, and we're continuing to expand it. And that is that if there is a burglary or a theft or a car burglary in Coral Gables, and we become aware of it and it meets the criteria for our program, which is pretty broad because we get involved with a lot of these cases, we assign someone from the city of Coral Gables, one of our outside counsel,
Sure.
but or a paralegal or a attorney, depending on the nature of the case. But we will have someone assigned that follows the case from beginning to end, that will go to court and make sure that the judge gives the highest bond or bail that we can allow, because what happens is sometimes people will go to court and they'll be let out right away without having to pay any bond or
And what's
bail.
that solving, right?
That's not solving anything. We
Exactly.
want this to be treated seriously, and we want people who are committing recurring crimes to be in jail for as long as possible. And then we make sure that to the extent we can, that the case gets prosecuted. We coordinate with the state attorney's office. We coordinate with the victim. We try to provide assistance to the victim. And that leads me to my second. And we've done this in a number of cases and seen significant success.
What I find from that is true dedication. You're there from beginning to end. You're contacting everyone possible. You're talking to the victims directly. And I think that's just really complete.
Thank you. And I have gone myself to court.
Okay.
For where a crime was committed against a Coral Gables resident, and I go there to make sure that the prosecution occurs. And the mayor went with me in that particular case, and we sit there, and it's very important to us to see that happen. And the other program that we have, which is related to it, is the victim assistance program, which we've had a victim assistance program for a long time, but now we're expanding it to include burglary, to include people that are the victim of thefts, things like that, to make it easier for them to participate in the system. Our goal being that as a victim, we want to make sure that people come to their house to talk to them, that they're not always required to go downtown, that it doesn't become, not only we want to stop victims from being re-victimized by having to go through the process again and then seeing the person who committed this crime against them get off. So we combine these two programs.
Sure.
And so the idea is that we treat them in a special way. That, look, you're a Coral Gables resident, you've been harmed, we see that, we're going to be with you every step of the way, and we're going to do everything we can in our power to see that this person is put away.
This is all about protecting the residents and also serving them.
Yes, it is truly service to the resident. And so, and if any resident has any would like to see what we've done with the Justice Advocate Program, we actually have a slideshow,
Excellent
PowerPoint presentation on which goes through every person that has been part of the program, any criminal that's been part of the program, and shows what's happened to them because of the program and the program's impact on making sure that people are put away and that they get longer sentences. You can do that by going on my website, the City Attorney's website, and there's a link to Justice Advocate Program, and you can go through the whole PowerPoint presentation.
Sure, we'll have that on the screen there for you so that they can visit that.
Yes, and I ask that they do, and we're continuing to push forward with that program. So that's one I'm really proud of. One thing that was important to me when I became city attorney was if a member of the public or a director, or of course the commission, if a commissioner, but members of the public too, which are extremely important, and ultimately they are the ultimate constituent client for our government.
Right, they're the reason you're even here.
Yes, and if there's a concern by a commissioner, a city official, a member of the public, they can come to my office directly and request an opinion.
Right.
Regarding the code, and my office will give an opinion regarding the code if we think it's warranted, and we usually do, because a lot of times someone will read the code and say, well, we're not sure what this means or how this impacts us. And my goal is to make sure that anytime someone is taking action which could be affected by our code, that they know what the law is. We'd rather them be able to come in advance and ask me, and I can tell them in a binding way that binds the city as well as the public what the law says. And then the good thing about that is they're published.
Right.
So I've issued over 150 opinions since I've been city attorney these last 4 years. They're all available on my website. So if you go to the city attorney's website, you can click and you can see how the opinions have turned out. And those opinions, the beauty of it is you can search the opinions on different topics.
Almost kind of like a frequently asked questions, just in case it's already up there.
Almost like that. Yeah. And then you can take the opinion and you can rely on it. And you can bring it to the city and say, look, this is how, a year ago, this is how this case was resolved. I want to be treated the same.
Right.
And you have a right to ask for that.
Absolutely.
So I think that those opinions are really important, and the commission has been 100% supportive of me in doing that.
I think that ensures fairness because it's almost like you've set a precedent in saying that here's the opinion, you should know better. And also you want to save the residents from from almost incriminating themselves in something that they didn't know before.
Exactly. And my goal, one of the most sacred trusts that I have as city attorney, in addition to service of the residents, which, we serve the public, that's why we're here, that's public service. But it's also to protect this beautiful gem of a city,
Yes.
which is Coral Gables, which is unique in this country. The combination of just a beautiful, gorgeous planned city with gardens and parks and avenues, and then a vibrant downtown, a university, one of the leading universities in the country, historic districts and buildings and structures all throughout the city. This combination that exists is really unique. And so one of my duties, I feel, is to make sure that our law is protected, that protects this gem of a city, and to make sure that whenever someone challenges, maybe it could be an historic preservation law, it could be a zoning law, it could be all sorts of things. But whenever those are challenged, and I'm there defending what this city stands for and why people move here and live in the city. So that's one of my sacred trusts. And as the city attorney, and if you've seen our zoning code or our city code, we have a lot of laws.
Right.
What's important to me is that those laws make sense and they serve the purpose of protecting these things I just talked about and serving the public. And that's why it's important to have a city attorney's office that is very active, that is robust, that meets with residents, that cares about the city, and that is proactive in promoting these goals.
The overarching theme that I've gathered here is that your office is open, that you are there for the residents, that you are there to give opinions.
Yes.
And I think also, most importantly, preserving the city beautiful for what it is and for what it's going to be in the future. And that's what I found about this commission as well, is that you're seeking to protect this gem here in Miami-Dade County. And not just for today, but also for many, many, many years to come, and generations from now.
Yes, indeed. And to make sure that every resident is able to have their voice heard and that they're treated fairly. In all of this, because we have these laws, they need to be enforced, we need to protect the city, but we need to make sure that we're doing it with a heart and that we care and are compassionate towards the individual residents who live in our community. And so that's why it's important that members of the public come and speak to me. And I know that our commission, the city manager, myself and the city clerk deeply care about that because we are judged ultimately by the public.
That's something that I encourage all of our residents to do, is to contact you. And how can we do that?
So you can call my office at 305-460-5218.
Okay.
Or you can email me directly at Cleen, at coralgables.com.
Well, Mr. Leen, I think in the last few minutes, everyone here has earned a certain appreciation for your office. And I'm sure that once they get to know more about your office, they'll be knocking on your door, calling you, emailing you, and I hope you're okay with that.
I hope they do. I invite it. It's the best part of my job is interacting with the public and helping people. That's why I became a government attorney, is to help people. It really gives me a lot of satisfaction to know that I made a difference in someone's life, even a small difference. That's really why you become a public servant, and that's my goal. That's why I'm here. So please come, meet with me. You'll be a priority, and I guarantee you that you will always be treated with respect, and that we will do our best to try to help you.
Mr. Leen, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Once again, that was City Attorney for the City of Coral Gables, Craig Leen. That'll do it for this edition of Coffee Talk. I'm Mike Biana. We'll talk to you soon.